So today, we are going to talk about uh, kits that you have been putting off for a long, long time because you think that your skills just aren't good enough to build them yet. And I have, lots of kits here, but some of them are really super special to me, and one of them is 1974 Plymouth GTX. Now, I've built three of these in the past, but I've never built the car that I had. Years ago, I had a 74 Roadrunner, and it was silver with a red stripe with a plaid interior. And it, it had rust on every panel, and it was, 318 powered. But I loved that car. I really did. It just it was the color, the interior, the car that I really wanted, except for it wasn't that nice. So eventually I would like to build a replica of what that car would look like now, say 20 years later. um, now they've got 392 motors that you can just buy a crate motor, throw it in. I think that would be really cool with the 392 in it. But so the donor kit for that would be the 1971 Dodge Challenge Charger. So the chassis fits right underneath it. You could just modify the interior tub a little bit. I could throw that resin engine in there, and yeah, yeah, that would really be a good project. But I want it to be absolutely 100% perfect, and so I haven't started it yet. It's kind of brewing in my head, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on getting started with it. Maybe I'll open the doors. Maybe I'll open the trunk. Take some work from A4 Garage. If you've ever watched that YouTube channel, he uh, he shows how he cuts open all the door panels and builds all the jams and stuff for it. I would really like to do a full out replica. Well, yeah, replica of today's version of it. So, do you guys have any projects that you've put off forever? The Northwind Customs. Hey, Dale says he'll be in Ohio by the end of the year. You're moving here, or are you just coming to visit? And Spencer, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Another project that that I would really, really like to do someday is this Ferrari California, like the Ferris Bueller car. So that car's always been special to me. I bought all of the replica miniature stuff that he offered, way back when. Give me a second. So he did an interior set with resin door panels and stuff. And I got some turned aluminum wheels. Look at how yellow this is. That's how old this is. So these are photo etched wire wheels. And somewhere I have one of the replica miniatures motors for this, which is like 100 pieces, and it's super duper detailed. But that's like an ultimate project for me. That would be amazing to me to build that car in black with a black or cream interior. And yeah, that'll be like the best project ever. Spencer says, I hear you on the projects. I have a few that I want to be perfect, have been holding off on starting. Heavy custom work is not my forte, and even more difficult in trying to film it all. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I were to start either one of these projects, I don't know that the YouTube community would support it to have a 10, 12 part series. I did the 50 Ford in 6 episodes. And it seems like at the beginning I was, getting really good reviews and good views on it, and it sort of dwindled downhill after that. By the time I got to the end, nobody cared. So I don't know. So Dale, what did I do? Dale's moving here. Oh, cool. Cleveland area or south? Where I'm in the Cleveland area. Northwind says it's hard to get started on some builds when you open it up and it's just so nice and the brain goes to mush. When this happens to me. Absolutely. It's the same. Give me a second. I think, okay. James will be on in a few minutes. No problem. So, yeah, those 2 projects are golden to me. And, if I made it a one thing video, it would be like 6 hours long. I like to watch them all in one go in 1 hour. Yeah. I totally agree with you, Spencer. So Dale, you're moving close to Cleveland. Very good. You can join our model club, North Coast Automotive Modelers. Great club. Great. You'll love everybody in the club. I've known those guys. Oh God, I've been in the club for, I want to say 20 years. So the guys in the club are like my brothers. Onyx says, hi, just got home. For me, the Mpc Pontiac Fiero was a kit I stayed away from because I never thought it would build correctly to match my real car because the kit's so inaccurate until recently. Yes, and I saw that car at NNL East. Beautiful work. Dale, yeah, awesome, cool. I'll look forward to it. Make sure that you come to our meetings and introduce yourself. Brandon says, evening from Pennsylvania. Are you near Pittsburgh area? That's where James is. Don Schmidt said, I had a few Fujimi porches that I was afraid to touch. Finally started on one and discovered there are a lot of challenges. Absolutely. So I've had this one forever, and I've built 3 or 4 of the Fujimis. This is the Dino convertible, and the Lamborghini Countach, and the Ferrari 365. And yes, I highly recommend test fitting those things, and then test fit it again. There he is. Hey, James.
Hello.
Turn up your volume just a little bit.
Might help if I plug the headphones into the right jack.
Oh, Lancaster. Brandon, how close is Lancaster, Amish country, to James? You're near Pittsburgh, right?
It's going to be 4 hours, 3.5.
Oh, okay. Well, so almost like the trip from Cleveland to Pittsburgh then, basically.
Yeah, because Lancaster is going to be another 45 minutes to an hour traffic and all that stuff, depending on the other side of Harrisburg. And for me to get to Harrisburg is exactly 3.5 hours from my front door to there. So I used to drive to York every day for work.
Good Lord.
That's right directly below Lancaster, and that was a 4-hour transit one way. So
wow. Elizabethtown next to Hershey.
Yeah, that's just on the other side of Harrisburg there. It's where Hershey Park and all that is.
Spencer says he has hit 356, so many parts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Troy, hello from Allentown. Sorry to hear what Billy Joel did to your town. 3 to 4 hours. Yep. Onyx says actually the one at NNL was the monogram. That one builds up nice. The Mpc kit I finished were recently were the problem childs. Okay. All right. I understand. Dale says by horse or by car. Kevin says, what's up, James and James?
What's going on, guys? We were coming into the show here, and my wife has got a situation with her eye where she like half of her eye is blurry. Like, what the doctor's about this? So we're trying to figure out what that's about. And then right then my boss texted me and went, "Hey, now I don't work on Monday nights, so that's why we're here. This is our night. And starting tomorrow, yeah, we're changing everything you're doing, and here's what you're doing. Have fun." I was like, "Oh, great." I have completely different time to be at work, completely different route that I'm running. It's still out to Columbus, but it's like, okay, great. Now
All
somebody
right.
already covers all of that in a different way. Like, what's going on with that? Like, of course we don't know because we're just small fish in a big pond kind of thing. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
great, awesome,
So
fantastic.
James, I already went through the kits that I've been afraid to build because my
Okay,
skills aren't
yes,
good
yes.
enough for it yet. Tell me
Yeah,
yours.
this was a topic that we were talking about earlier this week because I see it posted a lot online of you know, I like such and such, but I gotta wait to build it because I'm not good enough yet. And we have noticed a trend that a number of group builds have been related to some of the more mediocre kits available. And the question I was going to ask the group was, how many bad kits do you have to build to get to the good kit? Because like, at what point have you built your skills, quote unquote, enough that you can now tackle the thing that you put off for so long because you don't want to ruin it, even though it's a $40 piece of plastic, and if you really screwed it up that bad, you could always buy the parts for it or a whole new one, start all over again, and go, well, don't do that thing a second time with this kit that I've been saving for the last 5 years. But like, I am, well, I would say definitely afraid because me and my whole I don't build anything in the first place nonsense. But I am. Those kits to me are like all of these Lamborghinis because they are my I want to build all the Lamborghinis. So I've collected the alpha stuff that goes in after this, the Urus and the Evo and all that stuff. And then it's black box Tamiya kits. So your
Right.
Enzo, your FFX, your GTR, your Lexus LFA, all your big block, big box black. Because if you pay attention to your Tamiya kits, like the really fancy, expensive ones, so to speak, come in a black backgrounded box. They are.
I'll be darned. I never noticed that. Yeah.
They all come in like a silhouette. Whoops, that's getting this on camera. They all come in a silhouette box like this, where the whole thing is
Right.
black. The edges, the end caps are black and stuff like that. And if you have sitting around like another Tamiya kit, which I don't actually have here, as everything falls on the floor, then a lot of those are like white box.
Just white.
Yeah, exactly. Those are run of the mill kits. Those are great. You can build those anytime you want to, but you want to get into those black box Tamiya kits. Well, now because a lot of those come with photo etch in them.
Right.
The I don't think the original Enzo or the original LaFerrari came that way because they were separate. But at one point they did box those with the add-on PE that you could buy and the add-on carbon fiber that you could buy. It came all in one big collector's box. So they're like, these are the upgraded kits. These are the ones that, when you get around to it, you can. And it's the funny thing because we all know, or at least most of us know, if you build a Tamiya kit at some point in your life, regardless of what subject matter is, the joke is, oh yeah, put paint and the stuff in the box and shake it up and you come out with a kit on the other side of it. And
right,
like, why exactly am I so tentative? Because it's not afraid, because afraid is the wrong word. But why am I so tentative not to ruin something that I know is going to build well in the first place? I think it's a lot of the fact that you get into those instructions and it's a lot of multi-masking to paint something.
right.
It's like, oh, here's this tiny little part that represents like the fuel filter on the LFA, the very front part, and it's 4 colors off the box, and we're in step 1. And it's like, okay, I'm not ready for this yet. I'll come back to that.
Jeff Elliott joined
and I think a lot of
sorry,
yeah,
Jeff Elliott came in.
That's fine. I was just glad they're there. Hinterland Customs. That's Dustin over in Idaho. Good evening, morning, Dustin.
Looking forward to NNL East. Yep. I'm already going to. Second year.
I will be there as well, I believe. I've taken the days off work. I'm gonna have a conversation about work here tomorrow.
Far over here. Can't get away from him.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Dale? Okay. Dale says box stock is a challenge. Absolutely. That's why I love it. Box says it's the easiest for me. Just paint. Yeah, sure, Dale. Sure, Dale. I'll see you at the contest tables. Kevin, after Doug White, James is the builder I watch the most. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, that's
you mean that
let's say which one, but irregardless, that's a step up, or step down, I guess I should say, depending on how you look at it. I hope it's not me because I don't build anything. I hope he's talking about you.
James, we had some new releases coming out from Tamiya. A new announcement.
Yes, we did. This past weekend, middle weekend of the weekend, was the Nuremberg Toy Fair, which was traditionally a big announcement weekend because of the fact that I think this stems from COVID. Tamiya was not traveling outside of the country very much, but they would go to that show, and Shizuka, however we're going to technically pronounce that name, and the All Japan Toy and Hobby Show weren't occurring because COVID prohibited large gatherings like that in Japan well after we all went, with COVID here. Right.
It's over.
And exactly. I said, no political statements there, just a statement of fact. Japan was shut down for a year and a half after we were. And I'm hoping this year we'll see probably in another 2 months when the pre-orders start popping up for the show going into Shizuka, because the pre-orders always show up before the show does, because you got to be able to get your stuff out 90 days in advance. Whether or not Tamiya is going to announce like a bunch of stuff in Japan at that show. Now they did announce a brand new like 1/9 scale like moped style motorcycle, like those Honda Monkey kind of thing. I think it's not a Honda, it's a different brand, but it's that style of tiny little bike with big wheels on it.
Mini bike, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that's a thing we got here in the United States as far as, things. I know people have Honda Monkeys in the United States, so it's not like a Japan only type of motorcycle. It's not something that's going to do anything for me. I don't build 1/9 scale motorcycles, but it might be of interest to people that do. But there was 1/24 scale was 3 releases, and they're all reissues. You have the Abarth 695 SS version of the Fiat 500 kit. Now the Fiat 500 kit was just reissued a couple of months ago itself. Didn't really mention it in passing just because it's the terrible thing of I have one, who nobody else cares. But but for people who have old ones whose decals are shot, or those little metal stick-on stickers are shot, both those kits, one's out, one will be out in a couple of months. And then they're also reissuing the Alfa Romeo Giulia, however you pronounce that word.
Giulia, I believe.
What is that? The GTA Sprint, I think is what that's called.
Correct.
That one's been out of the catalog for a little while, so I know a lot of people just in passing, as it's been posted around, are excited about being able to again get that with fresh decals and things like that. And then they're doing a
James
clear body.
Yeah, I got that Giulia kit when I was in Arizona, and it was kind of funny. There was a guy that had a storage unit in Arizona. Imagine that. Kits baking in the hot sun and under a hot tin roof. So he would open up his storage unit every once in a while, maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. And all of the model guys would all come to this storage unit, and he would play Monty Hall and say, let's make a deal. And I saw that Alfa Romeo Giulia, and I'm like, I gotta have this kit. So we struck up a deal, and I think I paid like $40 for it. And I was happy to pay it. Of course, guess what? Decals were toasty inside that hot tin roof storage unit. But I was glad to have it, because I don't think that's been out since the 80s, maybe 90s.
This is the historical kit sticker on here. So this is a 90s release, but yeah, I think that was the last time. 2000 is what this boxing is.
Here it is.
I don't know, and to me, it's one of those weird things where they carry things in their catalog for a while after the kit goes out of production. So
yeah, I don't know how old this version is, but
should be your copyright should be on this should be on like this end. It's the end that's facing away from you right now, I think.
My old eyes. No, I don't see it. Oh well, it's old. But our friend Lucas C really wanted this kit from me, and so now he can get it.
Let's say I think yours is actually technically newer than mine, but my decals are still in their little stapled bag. I think they're okay. I haven't actually looked at them. I thought I started this kit. Oh, I did. I have the engine block glued in half and painted. There, that's my
started.
Yeah. That's what's known as value kill right there, folks. And I can't tell that thing as being sealed and complete because I've glued the engine block in half.
I'm sorry to cut you off. What was the last release?
Oh, that's fine. You know me. I'll just get going here. The last one is going to be a clear-bodied version of their Mercedes 300 SL. So the Gullwing 1955 Mercedes. I don't get it. I mean, I know that it must sell for them because they've done it with the Lexus. They've done it with a couple of the race cars. They've done it with a couple of the Ferraris. You know, I don't know who buys these clear-bodied kits exactly, but I mean, they're doing it at least with that one, with the space frame that's in that car. That would be something to look at. It's not like the LFA where you're looking at the inside of it. You know, the interior, just like it's weird kind of thing to look at because it's just there's no detail on the outside of those door panels or anything. But that's a space frame. That makes a little sense. But
yeah, that's a neat kit to look at because of that space frame. But the only problem that I find with those clear bodies is the ejection pin marks. You know, you really can't sand them out. You could sand them out and then polish each one so that it was invisible, but man, that would be a lot of work to make a clear frame without any, dimples around it.
I'll say because what was with the three? Sitting here, if I can get it down here without destroying the stack stuff. Another, black box Tamiya kit, the 360. But that has that under tray for the engine that's clear. And it's like, yeah, you can see the bottom of the engine that you've put together because obviously you see the top through the hatch. I don't know that I care enough to do that. I just, and the R32 GTR has clear hood. The Soarer has a clear hood. I think that Lexus LS400 came with a clear hood. It's, Tamiya and clear walk hand in hand. I don't know why exactly, but
let's catch up on some comments here. Onyx says Tamiya announced a clear wing. Yep, absolutely. We just talked about that. Paint the inside interesting. Oh, almost like an RC body. You paint it from the inside. Maybe a clear blue, clear yellow, clear green. Who makes the best aftermarket dashboard decals? Ooh, did you see those 3D printed decals? There's a company, and I can't remember the name of it, but they started doing them. I think they did like the Revell Porsche, just like the aircraft guys, where they have those 3D printed decals, and they did the whole shebang for, I know, that Revell Porsche 911, maybe the R32 by Tamiya. Do you know the company?
It's called Quinta Studios or Quinta Studios, depending on who you talk to. It's out of Russia, so I'm not sure how much pronouncing that Australian is.
What other kits did they do?
Right now, with the pre-order list that I'm looking at here, they did the new Carrera 911, the Revell kit that was a new tool 2 years ago. They do the R32 GTR from Tamiya. They do the Z32 Tamiya 300Z, which would be your 90s era Z, the big bodied twin turbo one. And then they've added, see, the last thing here that was on the old one is the Hummer H1, the Meng kit.
Oh, you have that.
And then added to this list, but I don't know if these are out quite yet, are the NA export version and NA Japanese version. I don't know if that's going to be for the Type R or not for the first gen NSX for the Tamiya kit.
Ooh.
Because if your first gen Tamiya NSX kits, there is a Acura version that we got here that's really hard to find because I don't think it's ever been rerun. And then there's a Honda, JDM version that's still in the catalog, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see if Quinta has their products.
Dale says, is there a local hobby shop you go to, or do you still get your stuff from Andy's? Dale, I order a lot of stuff online from Japan because that's the kind of stuff that I buy. If I buy local, a guy in the club is hooked up with a distributor, and so we get our kits at just a little over distributor prices. So maybe 25 to 28 bucks for your typical AMT Revell kit. So it works out. But no, there isn't. I don't go to Stewart's is still there. I don't go there. I have a Hobby Town here in town, and I have a Hobby Lobby, but I don't go to any of them. Andy's HHQ is a great place to deal with. I'm in Vermont and get my ushi powder from him. Oh, that ushi powder, that's the metallic powder that you put over black or whatever to make metal finishes. I think Brian had some of that for a while.
Yeah, he's doing that. He's using some of it on the bottom of that small scale Renault 1906 Renault that he's building right now, and he said he's running out. So there has to be that place that comes out of Germany, and I know that the problem he mentioned with it being an inconsistent stocking is a thing, but there has to be some place to get it from. I think you could order directly from him, but
Jeff he got it there.
Again, he's bad with stocking everything, including the orders that are put in directly. So,
right. No, Kevin, Parma Hobby is gone. They closed. I think Mr. Parma Hobby died. So
I think I was there one time because little known fact, I actually lived in Cleveland for a long time there in the late 2000s. But yeah, I think I was there once. I lived in Lakewood, so my hobby shop was up there.
Right. Hello, dads. Bandai does the same with a lot of Gundam with clear body panels. Not my thing, but I can see how people would be interested. Absolutely. It's when we were talking about the Mercedes. The car has so much detail. The clear body would you allow to show you all the detail you can't see through the regular kit. I work for the Mercedes. Oh, okay. Awesome. The Nissan 300 has a clear hood. Yep. I like the 90s. Me too. Seen the aircraft decals. Didn't know they were doing cars. Yeah. I saw it. I haven't bought any yet. I'm surprised you haven't bought them yet, James. You buy damn near everything.
I was going to get them from Hobby Easy because they're right around the same level price that ordering them from them directly is.
Okay.
But they keep pushing the fulfillment time back. These are supposed to be, and they are out. You can buy them directly from Keep the Studios. We'll take a look at them here in a second as I figure out how to share this the best way. But yeah, for some reason they're like, oh yeah, pre-order by such and such a date, and then that date came, and then it was like pre-order by such and such a date, and that date came, and now it's the beginning of March, and I'm like, I may just order these things straight from Russia, right? YOLO my shipping,
Kevin Smith says, looks like James D has his own hobby shop. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. We don't want to talk about how many there are there.
Let's put it this way: it's a 4-digit number.
Can't wait to go there. Oh, and thanks, James. I bought 3 AMC Rebels. Have fun with those.
Well, that was a pricey expenditure.
Yes, I'm sure it was. Good place, Western PA. Hobby Express, Cranberry. James?
No, I like Hobby Express. It's a gigantic hobby shop up at Cranberry. Is about 20 miles north of downtown. My gag has always been with those guys is their model kits, all of them, because there's several rows and it's divided by subject, always have a tag stuck on the shelf that's like, buy these kits now and get 15% off at the register. And I thought, oh, hey, it's a sale. And then this was right near a place I worked at. So for like a year and a half, I'd go in there, I don't know, one Saturday a month. And that sign was always there, except at Christmas time, it was 25% off. And so I went up to the owner one day and I went, why don't you just put the kits at 15% off and call it a day instead of having a discount at the register? It's like, well, people think they're getting a deal. I'm like, yeah, but most people who build models and find a hobby shop tend to come back to it all the time. Like, the regular customers are like, why don't we just because they were selling stuff at MSRP, you know, Tamiya kits for $60. Okay, well, you got like $10 off at the register. I'm like, yeah, but you could just sell it for 50 and call it a day, and
right. You probably sell more.
People wouldn't think they're getting a deal. Like, I buy my stuff from Japan. I know at $50 it's still too expensive for this kit.
Right.
Still not getting a deal, exactly.
Right. We're getting them for about $25, but it's $20 shipping. But there. Dwight, hello. Any thought about why Japanese seem always to be better quality fit models, albeit more expensive? I think that they take it more serious in Japan. I think that, I think that they take the hobby more serious, and it's not geared towards kids there. I think it's really geared towards the adult modelers in Japan versus here in the US. I think that they think it's a lower target audience here, a younger target audience. James,
I would agree. I would agree, and the fact that like having a hobby is a thing in Japan. Like, it's a lot of people we all know, we've seen them online, are like, well, my wife doesn't like this, or you know, people look down at me if I tell them I build models, and that's not a thing that happens in Japan. You know, you have hobbies. It's a culture of not work. I mean, for as much working to death, literally, as there is there, there is also a separation and relaxation aspect of that culture that we don't necessarily embrace a whole heck of a lot here. And we, again, at this point, still consider model kits to be toys, because at your Walmart, where's your model at? Well, it's not in the craft department in the back. It's in the toy department. So it's a $30 model kit now, but it's still a toy. It's still something for your kids, and yay kids and all that. But the reality of the I mean, because they have to come in the hobby at some point, or else they really will just peter out at some point. But yeah, I think it's that, and Tamiya's always just been Tamiya, and there's this, they don't put out 9 kits a year, they put out 2, and you're only putting out 2 kits, you can focus on what you're doing with those 2 kits rather than having a portfolio of things that you're trying to. And I think, again, what you're looking at, I mean, round 2, we both have friends there, and you especially, and that nostalgia play is huge for them of doing these old kits and doing them as old kits to a certain extent. And I don't know that will necessarily fly in Japan. I don't know that the Tamiya could go back to putting out motorized kits and everybody be like, oh, remember in the 70s? No, we expect a certain thing from you, and this isn't it.
Right. They, like, what is it? The Countach has the battery box still in it from Tamiya.
Yeah. It's also the only way to get those specific Campanella wheels, so it's sort of a 6 of one, half dozen on the other. I say the other thing I say about price is, for all of the screaming and yelling we get about the AMT kit that cost $1 now costs $30. The one thing that they haven't done in Japan, and this is sort of made American kit prices catch back up, is that when they reissue old stuff, they don't price it up. Like that Alfa Romeo will probably sell for $25, just like it did the last time. They're not going to add, they're not going to tier up another price increase on that, because you can still buy the R32 GTR as a $13 model kit in Japan. That kit's been around since the 90s, and they haven't raised the price on it.
For those of you who don't know, there is, how do I get this in here?
There you go.
The little number, here says 2,000. That means that it's 2,000 yen in Japan. So you can get the yen price for the kits right there on the box, and that's MSRP of the kit.
That'd be roughly $20.
Right. So yeah, I doubt that they'll reprint over that and say, oh no, now it's $30 kit. I think you're right.
Some of the stuff has seen like slight increases, gone from 20 to 22 and things like that, but it's not been a huge I'm trying to type and see because hobby search isn't selling to me. It gets directly as much as they used to, so I'm trying to see if I can get a hobby in Japan and see if the pre-orders have actually started for that.
But then when you look at the new Gordon Murray T50, this one says 5,000 on the box. This was a $50 kit in Japan to begin with. So when it got here, a couple of distributor prices later, and it's probably what, $70-$80 here.
Yeah. Okay. So the last time the Julia Sprint sold, and it hasn't been rebumped here with the new pre-order, was $14.36 in Japan. I would not expect it to sell them for more than 20 this go around if they, throw an extra fiber on it for redoing the decals and stuff like that.
Right.
But that's now $10 cheaper than an AMT kit, or thereabouts.
Jeff says that stuff hard to get at time. Yep. Your AMCs, I think you're talking about. Yeah, Kevin, that is sad. Start to worry when it gets to 5 to 6 digits. I can't even imagine. American factories geared toward toys. Yeah, absolutely. Onyx, a great hobby shop in New Jersey, is Tech Toys. Oh, we go to that every time we go to New Jersey for the NNL. We stop at Tech Toys. The place is it cracks me up. It's like stacks and stacks, and you kind of worm your way through the hobby shop, so that you don't knock over the stacks. It's hilarious. You ever been there?
No, I have not. I know I've heard of it, but I have not actually gone there.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. They're just everywhere. Do you have a file or art for your YouTube channel logo? It's a larger one. Do on the granite tile etching. I have it as a file, but are you going to do your kitchen?
We'll put bricks up to every hobby shop.
In Japan, it's more cement art. Yeah, absolutely, Onyx. Used to get pissed when my aunt would say they're still building toy cars. Yeah. I thought about doing T-shirts to say something to the effect of, no, you didn't do what I do when you were a kid. So, Kevin, I lived in Japan for 8 years. Yeah, where did you stay, Dale? Were you in Tokyo area or a different place? Because when I go to Japan, it's in Tokyo. What kit was that again? The one you just held up? Gordon Murray 2250. Onyx, I ordered from Japan and gotten better deals in buying here, even with shipping. Yeah, absolutely. Scale model outlaw. Hey, Troy. Price of kits are not that bad, but paint can be a big investment. Absolutely. I don't buy a lot of color specific car, like with splash and gravity, like that certain black color. Black is black to me. I just buy black. But some people go kind of crazy with, it has to be the right color black. James?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's, in looking, as building race cars, some whites are off white, they're legitimately not a white, but then you get into things like, oh, well, there's BMW rally white, and then there's Alpine white for BMW, or there's a white for Volkswagen rally cars, and there's Alpine white for BMWs, and then there's this white and that white, and it's like, they're white. They're all this. You can't tell me, or at least I can't see with my eyes, a physical hue difference in these bright whites. They're all bright white.
They're all just white. Yeah.
Tamiya 26, T26, racing white. There you go. That's the answer. I'm not paying, and I support Splash and Gravity and a couple of those other companies, but I'm not paying $9 plus shipping to get a teeny weeny little bottle of this thing I've got in this giant can. No, black is black as well.
Red. Yeah.
Red, you might start splitting hairs with oh, this is what shade of blue is this kind of thing. Like, yeah, okay, so to me it was a slightly different hue than the bottle of BMW, Mediterranean blue from 1968 or whatever. But Who's going to know? It's my 98% rule, and I think I've talked to you about this online before. The 98% of chance people won't know the difference. The 98% chance that no one who sees it would know that it's wrong, and there's a 98% chance it'll never be shown beside the actual item that it represents. Like, you're never going to put your car beside a real one.
Right.
So why are we so
Yes.
concerned exactly about that specific? I mean, I totally get it. It's that detailing for yourself. I know that what the engine's wired. I know that clutch pedal is photo etch, even though no one will ever see it again. I know that paint is correct. Cool, but unnecessary money sometimes.
When we get into the exotic cars, Lamborghini, Ferrari, I think it matters a little more, like to get those specialty colors. Some of the blues and purples and reds, they're unique, and especially like the tritones, where you have a base and then a pearl clear before clear. No one will be made for you. I have friends in granite sheds. Oh. T50. Yep. That alpha look. Hi, Rue and Linda. Okay. On the island, they don't like. Oh, Okinawa. Okay.
My father was stationed there.
I'm the guy. I got to have that perfect color. Okay. All right. You can go buy black. The alpha looks nice. I've never seen that kit in the US. Yeah, like I said, when did you look up on ScaleMates? When's the last time it was reissued?
I did not. Let me do it. Keep talking.
Okay. Dale says USMC. Okay, that makes sense. Got my paint. Excuse me. My late brother's body shop. Okay. There's a guy in our club that used to work at a paint shop, and if we had a specific muscle car shade that we wanted, and this was before Model Car World moved to Ohio, we would get it through him. I have to cough again. You're going to have to take over.
So looking at the actual boxings of that Alfa Romeo, the one you have is 97-ish, and then the most recent reissue was 2006. So that's nearly 20 years ago that it was out last. I mean, now 2006 boxing probably ran into the 20 teens a little bit because, again, Tamiya adds things and subtracts things. It's not like Aoshima where it's like, hey, so we've decided we're putting a new different box art out for this kit, so we're going to reissue the entire line of everything we've ever done all over again a third time in the last 5 years, or spot run stuff. To me, it just, if they need to spot run stuff, they spot run stuff and they keep stuff in stock. They don't make announcements of it like, okay, this month's additives, the kits we're going to throw on here at the tail end, like some companies do. So
Oshima. Yeah, Oshima.
Yeah.
Hasegawa too. Working in the auto industry, I can tell you, even within the same company, they have multiple versions of the same color. Yeah.
That's very true within the like automotive companies. Like a Porsche color is also an Audi color, is also a Lamborghini color.
Troy switched to Createx, Mr. Hobby Aqueous. Can you tell me? No, I've read about Createx Clear, that their 2-part clear is equal to a 2K. Now, I don't know a lot about it, and I hate to mess up my own project trying it, but if any of you guys have had any experience with the Createx Clear, please let me know. Mercedes has alabaster, diamond, and Arctic white, all different whites. Yeah, okay. Kevin, yes, it was Bill. I trust Tamiya products for the most part and expect excellent products. Yeah. They've got a reputation for great kits, great supplies. Even stupid things like tweezers and paintbrushes. I guess I'm like a Tamiya whore. They come out with something, I buy it. Kit paint from him too. Yep. Kevin, I remember that you pinstriped his truck years ago. Sounds like the Model Club you're in is awesome. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Kevin used to be a member years ago. Ultra high gloss works really well. Oh, are you talking about the Createx paint, Troy? So, Troy, when you're using that, is it just like applying 2K? You just mix two parts together, mix it up, and throw it on? What kind of dry time are we looking at? Is it polishable? Can you cut and buff it? I'm interested.
I say, well, he's getting back to you on that. And before we go too far down the road from what we were talking about, I've got no, that's fine. We're just cruising along here. Whoops, that was not what I wanted. We were talking about those Quinta Studios things. Make sure that's
okay. All right.
Actually sharing. Yes, it is. All right, so this is the Porsche 911 set, and so this is what your decals end up looking like. You've got two different options for your gauge bezels there, and then you have a whole bunch of just interior bits and pieces. So you have your radio stack and your HVAC and speakers and stuff like that. And so there's a couple of images of what those what they end up looking like installed. Let me get back here. It's a dashboard one. So I mean that's a lot of nice looking without a lot of effort. I mean,
yeah. No dry brushing or decal with a drop of epoxy over top of it or anything. That's the best.
I was saying, then I've got to see here the Acura one. So this is the set for the domestic Acura, for the one that would have the the U.S. license plates here. A couple different 3-gauge cluster options. Looks like there's some side markers, the entire center console, the door pulls. It looks like a bunch of under engine decals here as well. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, you've got that looks good. That center console. You probably have to sand off. You probably have to sand off the mold and detail there, but I mean it's certainly a nice looking replacement. Yeah. So you've got the top of the plenum. You've got a filler for the washer bottle. Got some buttons for the steering wheel there. It looks like a couple of decals for the engine support.
Yeah.
And then we'll do one more real quick here because the way I'm doing this, I can't share screen to screen here. So stop that and then present, share screen. And then we have, this is one we didn't mention that I just saw is up there now. And this is one for the 959. Porsche. And this is a big set of stuff.
Ooh.
So it looks like there's obviously you have your interior stuff and all your bits and pieces here, but it looks like there's a wiring harness to the engine here.
Get out of here.
That's what this one on the bottom left looks like to me.
Yeah.
So here's the engine. So yeah, it is. It is.
It looks like little spark plug wires. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's certainly.
That is over the top.
Looks. I say those other ones must be the straps for the exhaust up here on top.
And technically, that's box stock because you can use decals.
Depends on the competition. IPMS has outlawed this for their box stock. They don't allow 3D decals, but I mean that's a nice looking dashboard.
Okay.
Well, here's instructions here. Let's see. Can we make this bigger?
Wow. I built that one years and years ago. I may have to do another one. Wow. So what how much is that?
That is 30 euros. So I'm thinking that's probably what, $38 or so. I'm guessing.
I think the kit is only like 20 on Amazon.
I would say the other ones are around 15 euros a piece, so they're closer to like $20. I mean, a set of decals is $20. You know, we all know we've all bought up ourselves a whole raft of aftermarket decals, and they're $20 a sheet. So
yes.
Yeah, so back to your Createx.
Okay. We'll get back to scale model Outlaw, full line of bottle paint XP. I do like their LP line. That is very good paint. Createx has no smell, cut and buff. Is it? I know it's water based, but it still has to have some sort of. You still have to wear a respirator. I hope. with the Korea's hex. You wouldn't want that in your lungs. You assume Revell made in China. Is that new quality? No, they're subcontracting it out to China. It's still the same molds. I mean, I pre-built the new 71 Mustang, and that was a nice model. Fit was really well. I don't want to call it Tamiya quality, but it's nice. It's really nice. James, what do you think about the new Revell stuff?
Revell, as far as Revell China is not a new thing. That's been going on since the late 1990s.
Okay.
98 or 99, somewhere in there is when all that tooling got shipped over there. Revell of Germany still does some of their production in Poland.
Okay.
But again, much like Salvinus JR and their manufactured in the USA thing, that is a tooling is cut in China. It's produced here. But whether anyone likes it or not, and I understand that that's not a fan favorite for a lot of people with that moving it over. I was talking to a guy today who bought some stuff off my auctions this weekend who was talked about how he's sworn off AMT kits since the Dyersville plant closed down, which, good God almighty, that's like 1994 or so when that happened. But, I totally get why you would be against that. I fully understand, but at this point now, this many years later, now granted AMT stuff got sent to Mexico before it got sent to Canada, to China. Those guys in China are the world's leader of tooling. Like they've been doing, anybody who understands how Chinese, manufacturing is set up, you have towns that do things. It isn't just like there's a factory. There is a town, and that town makes plastic tooling, and this town makes electronics, and so on and so forth. And you're talking, it's 30 years later almost, and they're the experts now. And if you want your tooling, you want a complex model kit type tooling cut, it's done in China because the expertise, better, worse, and different, has moved there. It is kind of a is what it is kind of situation. It'd be great to move it back to the United States. Salvinus JR is proving that you can manufacture and run a company from the United States, but the tooling's still being cut in China. So,
right. Kevin says, "Yep, Penstraight was my last job that I did was Bill's truck. Nice. I love that truck. It's a beautiful truck. Can't go wrong with Tamiya products. Very good quality. Absolutely. Except my own car. Also Tamiya fanboy. Love their paints and tools. Remember the custom aero van? Yes. Yeah. You had like, it was 3 colors and flamed pinstripes, and yeah, wow, that sucks. Bummer. What are your thoughts on Hero Boy products? Any experience with them? Are you talking about Hero Boy as a store or their own product line? Don't they do like zero paints, I think?
right. I have ordered alpha model stuff from Hero Boy because sometimes they're the only ones that had a specific thing in stock, and I've had absolutely no issues whatsoever getting order fulfillment done, very quick shipping and stuff like that. So I have no issues with their store. Their paint is super hot. It is car paint in a bottle. It's not reduced, and that also means that usually the flake on their metallics is like gargantuan because it's car size.
Bass boat.
No,
right?
I've heard through people I know in the UK that the flake size has come down a bit and the paints are a little bit better than they were in the past. But it is a situation where I personally, unless it was the only way to ever get that color done, would not buy zero paints. There are better options and cheaper options, frankly, for US modelers between MCW and Scale Finishes and Splash, or just shipping stuff from Gravity Spain for that matter, to than dealing with that paint.
And
There's a whole runaround with that because he can't ship, his bottles are glass, and so he can't ship them on airplanes, and you have to buy it through a reseller in the United States like Upscale, and it's just to me it's a pain in the ass to get a hold of that is certainly not worth the effort in the, oh hey look, my model looks like a grapefruit now because the paint is all plastic. And I know too many people who have had that happen where the paint, they assume it's reduced, paint, and it's not, and they blast it on like they would a normal hobby paint, and it's not a normal hobby paint. It's straight up car paint.
Right. And we're also dealing with euro versus the USD, which is terrible right now. Always has
British
been,
pound, but yeah, still
yeah,
bad.
yeah. We already talked about that. Decals look great. Other guys, I didn't get to hide from the wife. No, we don't know. We don't know anything about that, Onyx. Createx, yes, respirator, but no smell and dries pretty fast. Try it, you'll like it. They have a whole line of wicked colors. You know, I think they sell that over at Hobby Lobby, the Createx Clear. I may try it. Although Harder and Steebeck would still the world leader in quality airbrushes. Yeah, I use a cheap ass Master. What you have the Pro Convoy, don't you, James?
Yep, yeah, I have two of those, two of the trigger style Procon boys.
Okay.
So please hold.
Kevin says, where does the NCM meet? And wanting to go, but don't know where it is now. Yes, join the Facebook group, North Coast Automotive Modelers, Kevin. We meet the first meeting of the month. The first Tuesday of the month is in North Olmsted, and then the second meeting is in Brook Park, so near the airport. Dale says, what about MCW paint? I like MCW lacquers for muscle cars, but I don't build a lot of muscle cars. I build a lot of JDM stuff. So I rely on Tamiya, Mr. Hobby, and I just, and if I don't have a color, I'll just mix it myself. You know, just a little bit of blue, a little bit of white, you know, a little bit of green, whatever. And I'll just mix it. Kevin Smith says, can't beat my Iwata. You know, a couple guys in my club have Iwatas, and I've used the Iwata, and yes, it is a great airbrush, but I'm poor, so I have all my money in kits. So I learned to use this Master airbrush, and it's like an extension of my finger now. With the trigger airbrush, I can pull it just a hair to get, you know, just a mist. And I've been using them for 6 years now, so I refuse to go to anything different now because I know how it reacts when I shoot paint, and why change.
I have a Pro Convoy PS275. This is a 0.3 needle with a trigger thing. It's a pretty good, decent sized paint cup on the top. That'll, I think, cover most of your body painting type of thing. And then I have a PS290, which is a 5.5 millimeter. It's a bigger brush.
That looks like a
bigger
jam gun.
I say this is more of a spray gun than it is an airbrush, but yeah, I mean, theoretically they're good airbrushes. I don't know. I've never actually used them yet, but I find that with at least me personally, and having tested, I've tested this one out just to see how it sprays, and more importantly, how it comes apart, because my main workhorse airbrushes are Badgers, and Badgers are super, super easy to clean because you just unscrew a tightening bolt sort of in the middle here, and then the needle comes out the back, and so it's very, very quick to take apart and clean up. And those just feel more natural to me for some reason. I think it's because I've spray painted for so long that it's just holding something at that angle, because I find that with my, you know, like roller airbrushes, it's to me, it's like, again, my humble opinion type of thing, I have a more difficult time, probably should use them more, figuring out exactly where that sweet spot is between like where I want to apply the paint at and where it's coming out way too much at the same time. And it's, at least on the Badgers, that seems to be a very fine line between I'm barely putting out any paint, and this would be awesome if I was trying to just detail the edge of this shock absorber, and the shock absorber has disappeared underneath this coat of black paint. Let's hope this levels out.
I think your best airbrush is the one that you use the most.
This is true. Airbrush is definitely a skill that you have to develop and you have to learn, and it is a skill that you will atrophy if you don't do. The more you airbrush, the better you are at it, and the more you airbrush, the more comfortable you are with it. And if you don't do it for a month, then you know what you're doing, but you're starting up from scratch.
You're learning all over again, right? MCW paints have impressed me. They have colors I can't find anywhere else. I built a Corvair for my buddy and found it exact. Yeah, MCW is perfect for model car, muscle cars, and classic cars. They did dabble in some new, like the new Ford colors for the Bronco and the Dodge Charger. I know that they came out with those in their enamel line, and those are the two-part hardened enamels, which I tried the one frostbite on my Charger, and I ended up clearing over it. Some guys can just hose that stuff on, because that's actually what my guest said to do, is to hose that paint on, and it dries, to a shiny surface. Skim on Outlaw. I have a bunch of MCW enamels. Okay. Haven't used MCW airbrush ready paint. I use Scale Finishes airbrush paint. Okay. A lot of guys out in the Arizona area use that Scale Finishes paint. I think I tried one, a Ferrari color, and it was a little bigger flake than I care for. So I haven't bought any since. Tom C had me try Tester's airbrush in the clinic. Not so good. Yeah. You're talking about those. Yeah, you're talking about the plastic one that they came out with, kind of like the Grex. What was that line called by Testers?
Aztec.
Yeah, that must be what he's talking about. Troy's using a cheap $26 airbrush. Okay. The cheap one works just great. Yeah, just like I just said, it's whatever one you're used to using and you have a touch and a feel for. Dwight uses a Badger 105. Yeah. I bought my Iwatas directly from Japan. It was cheaper than purchasing in the States. Yeah, I'm sure. Dale, how often do you disassemble and clean your airbrush? Bad subject for me. I'm probably the worst. After every time I get done using it, I pull the needle out, I wet the needle off, I take the tip off, and I clean the tip off, and I put it all back together, flush some lacquer thinner, and I'm done. I never take them apart and clean every little part. I just don't even bother.
There's not really a need to do field stripping.
Right.
Dale said he has a Badger. No, that was a different Dutch Dwight. But anyway, if you had, like I said, if my Badger, unscrew that tightening thing, pull the needle off, screw the front cap off, clean that part, run some thinner around inside the cup if the paint's been stuck to get the paint off the inside of that, and then flush it a couple times and we're done. And that's an every use thing. I just run some thinner in it between colors just to change out colors. As far as that goes, I don't strip it every color, but every time, because I've tried to. I know some people that are all like, I just flush it and then I leave it and I don't take it apart but once a year. And I tried, like, okay, cool, let's work. I'm all for that. And what I found was that I have a 105 Extreme that the needle promptly stuck in there. Like, it was, I flushed it 3 times. It looked clean to me visually, and then the next time I tried to use it, I filled it up with paint and I pulled it, and it went blub, blub, blub in the cup, and nothing came out the other end, and the needle didn't move. So I had to pour the paint out, take it all apart, clean it, and then put it back together and use it. So might as well just clean it and be done with it.
Right. Troy Hobby, I use Harbor Freight brush from the kit for primer. Yeah. Oh, the Swallowtail. I've heard a lot of people are switching to that. The Swallowtail. It looks a lot like my Master. Dance with the one you brung. Absolutely. I also really like the Master. I have a couple of them. Really happy with the results. Also easy, very clean cloud. Yep. Start off with the spare tire for an air source and not flat tires. Clean airbrush really good after pearl. Absolutely. Especially if you're going to be shooting clear afterwards. Deal. Thank you.
All right. So one other kit that was announced at Nuremberg Toy Fair, and this all we have is this piece of poster board, and this is Heller are going to be doing, I don't know to what extent or whatever, a Peugeot 205 GTI. So this is the French hot hat.
Hot hatch.
So you know, this is like your Golf GTI. This was the base of the Peugeot 205 rally cars that Tamiya did all of those. That well, they did 206s, but the 205 is well, when I'm done with this, I'll have to grab it off the top of the shelf over there. But Tamiya did a rally version of this car, and I believe, theoretically speaking, it's one of those things was in a catalog from 2 years ago that New Hobby was going to take a whack at doing the 205 Evo 2, which was more aero on the 205, which is a kit that's only been done in resin. If this is like the current batch of Heller kits, like the Citrons that they did, the Foregone trying to think of, there's a whole bunch of stuff and it's all behind stuff that I can't see, but they did a whole bunch of kits. They did that tractor, the little Massey Ferguson tractor and stuff like that. Their new kits are pretty special in the sense of being well done. This is one of their newer kits here. This is take this off the screen now because I'm sharing that. Is the Renault Estafette van, and it is Germans now own Heller after being French for many years.
I don't have any of those kits. Are they? What would you compare them to?
I would say these are Revell Germany, current Revell Germany quality.
Okay.
I mean, this is let's see, there's like the engine. Whoop, that's not going to show up very well.
Okay. All right.
But I mean, they're not your grandma Teller's kits. The Heller kits from back in the day are pretty bad sometimes. A lot of them have multi-piece bodies and things like that. There's a new crop of Heller kits. They started making them probably 5 years ago. They did a Renault 4L. They did this. They did a Citroen 4H, which is this big, hideous, ugly-ass van.
And you bought that.
Oh, yeah. Let's see, what else we got? They did a Citroen Mahari, which is a hideously ugly little four-wheel drive thing. Well, actually, not a four-wheel drive, it's a front-wheel drive thing.
Ooh, it's an eyesore.
And then let's see here. See if I can get to it without pulling everything off the shelf.
I hear you, Kevin. I just replaced my
Renault 4L, this little horrifically ugly 1980s French economy car.
Kevin, I just replaced mine with a 1 gallon silent air compressor because when we were in Arizona, it didn't matter. I had a 3 gallon out in the garage, and when it turned on, you could hear it in the house. But now I've got the whisper quiet one in the basement, and yeah, I don't get any complaining. Room for one more, yeah. Then restored a Martin antique guitar for them. Oh, gotcha. What new kit's coming out soon? Are you most excited about? Wow. For me, because I'm nerdy, it has to be the redoing of the Back to the Future DeLorean by Aoshima. I've had the AMT/Aoshima kits forever, all 3 versions, and I haven't started any of them because the wires are molded onto the side of the body, and I was always afraid of brush painting the wires. But this new kit coming out by Aoshima later on this year is just amazing looking, and opening doors. You know, the whole time machine stuff is all separate pieces. I actually see the opportunity to maybe even make a stock DeLorean out of that. But, yeah, that and maybe the new BMW that's coming out later on this year. What is that, at M4, M5? James, help me out.
trying to find something in the background here. Yeah, so the M4 GT3,
yeah,
race spec.
With the buck tooth grill on it.
Yeah, it doesn't look to me. It doesn't look bad on the race car because all that's air induction.
Right.
The road cars like, hey.
What new kits coming out are you excited about, James?
Well, I mean, we can always throw out a heads up to the PZY and Wenbin because we all want that BMW race car, the Z4
Yes.
Coupe.
Yeah.
Sitting here trying to find pictures of it. I had all these pictures of the new DeLorean somewhere, and I don't have many more, and I can't find any online either. But that, and then, geez, I don't know. There's a few odds and ends race cars here and there, but there's not really a lot that I know about at the current point in time. Other than the new Celica, the new
the new Hasegawa Celica.
Yeah, that's because I've wanted a good lift back Celica for so long, and I don't think this was announced when we were on last. Technically speaking,
oh, the new Celica.
Yeah, I don't think that was technically something that was here. So let's
right, because we were talking about the older version Celica with the like custom version last time.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. They announced this one, the lift back.
So that's not cool. Oh, because it's a different window. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting when you look at stuff on Hobby Search and then you look at the parts on Hobby Search, it's pops you a whole spare window. There we go. So this is the new Celica. Now this will ride the chassis and drivetrain components of the existing tooled up in 2003 Celica 1600 coupe that they've done. Kit's been around forever. It's a really nice kit for all intents and purposes. And the chassis for what it is will be fine. It's curbside. It doesn't, the engine stuff is molded into the chassis. So you have to do that painting and masking, but it's not motorized or anything like that. Everything's separate off of its front axles, back axles, all that stuff are separate, but you're going to get obviously everything you need for the lift back version of this. So obviously it's a new body. You're getting a whole new interior tub with the lift back specific cargo area with the tie downs molded in. So that's a nice touch, I guess.
Yeah.
I say you're talking about a modern interior here, so you've got your side door panels. So that's true with the coupe too. It's got separate door panels, so it's not necessarily too like crazy new there, but it's the proper lift back interior with the the C-pillar molding. I think that this whole genre. I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day. This whole genre of JDM that existed in the early mid 70s was so influenced by the Japanese sending their car designers to the United States. This tailgate right here, this tailpiece is clearly stolen off a Mustang or the Duster, one of the two. It is going to be at least what they're showing here is a JDM only. Now the coupe comes with a left-hand drive option. I don't know if this will or not. They're just showing like bits and pieces of this, but you get the coupe specific steering wheel and all the coupe specific trim, and there's a different grill, and so all that stuff's going to be taken care of. This looks really cool, and like I said, for the longest time I've wanted a lift back Celica because aoshima makes one, but it is from 1983, I believe. The chassis is motorized. It's very simplified. The body's not bad, but the interior builds off the top of that motorized chassis. So it's a pretty, it is what you would expect for a 1980s motorized kit. But it's very mediocre in that way. And with the Celica being such a nice kit from Hasegawa, it was like, man, I wish they would just, hey, okay, cool. They are finally like 8 years into doing my channel and saying every time that kit gets reissued by aoshima, boy, I really wish they would release a new version of this. Someone finally listened. Am I taking credit for it? Sure, yes, but no. So that'll be nice. I'm looking forward to that. That's an April release, I believe.
Okay.
Get that.
All right.
And mid-April. So kind of interested to see something like that getting announced ahead of Shizuka. So I'm interested to see what they do. Because usually Shizuka is their new tool, major retool, and then here's a bunch of stuff with new decals and maybe a odd and end part or two. So I'm interested if that affects that, or we're not going to get another new tool because boo. But I'll take that. It's one of those things like I know it's coming, but I always want to know what's coming next. So what else do you have for me coming?
Right. Ruan says, I built quite a few Heller kits and they can be quite a challenging their fit and finish.
Yeah, they certainly can be.
Dale says, love the knowledge you shared. Oh, you're welcome. Good night. Do either of you have an 83 through 86 Nissan Pulsar? I know you do.
I do not.
What?
I do not, because the Nissan Pulsar that he's talking about, I believe, because I have a new one, the Hasegawa 83 Pulsar, but the one he's talking about is like the one that we got here. This one,
sort of the real pointy nose?
Yeah, the one that looks like a Fiero from the front.
Right. No offense, Onyx. No offense.
Yeah, again, it's a poor man's Fiero, right? Let's see. It's going to be, whoops, that's my settings. Golly, you think after using this once, I'd know where all my buttons are. It's going to be this kit, I think is what he's talking about.
Oh, yep.
And it went away from all images to that. Why? Yeah, this one, the one with a point, because we got this Pulsar in the United States, but this is an old IMA tooling, so this is not even an Aoshima original, and it's got that weird, it's not quite 1/24 scale thing going on. I believe the literature here on the side of the box is even like this is an old kit, builder skills are required, but it is one of the old school. Get out your hammer and beat the rivet into the back of the wheel back kind with the tongue depressor style steering arm, and you got choice of wheels, yay, and then you've got a metal axle going through this upright.
I'm sure those tires are like donuts too.
I was saying, I believe the Pulsar was a rear engine car, so all of your and then of course my personal favorite, hey, so put a block of wood on this side of it and then beat the living snot out of this side of it to hook the rear axle together. And look, you've got a separate muffler and a couple of sway arms, and then the interior builds off the bottom of the body. You can see here the battery box is still in here. The engine, the old motorized engine carrier is still there.
I bet the door panels attached to the side of the body. Yep.
Yep, they sure do. And then the dashboard attaches to the inside of here, and you got to cut if you want to make the headlights work. Sure, they work, but you got to cut them out of the body to do that. And
it's just,
this mean if you wanted a Nissan Pulsar, I guess this is a situation where it is what you have, and if you want to build it, you get this, and that sort of thing has always been part of what my channel was always about. I'll never tell you not to buy something. I'll never tell you that a model kit is too crappy. Well, there are a couple of times where I've said that that's a crappy option. There are better ones. But in that case, where it is the only way you're going to get that generation Pulsar, you need to know what you're buying before you buy it. Because even though that's like a $13 model kit, it's like you get that and you're like, Aoshima, I know what an Aoshima kit is like. Do you know what an IMA kit from 1983 is like? Because that's a completely different experience that you're about to open, and that's sort of akin to the round two reissuing something from the 1960s, and you thought it was a brand new kit kind of thing, where like this is awful. Well, you have to understand where that kit came from. Is the Revell Mercury better than the AMT Mercury? Probably, but if you want all the stuff the AMT Mercury offers, the opening trunk and all the build options, well, AMT Mercury is the only option, because the Revell one is chopped custom. That's all there is to it, unless you buy the wagon, and then even then you've got a Cadillac engine in the wagon. It's not a factory stock car. So you buy what you want, you build what you want. I'll never tell you not to, but it has always been a founding part of this channel is always know what you're buying. You should never, if you watch the channel and the monthly videos and all that stuff, you should never be like, I bought this and I didn't know what to expect. Well, you didn't watch it then.
Kevin says that guitar was in splinters, took me 6 months to restore it. Man, I bet it was pretty when you finished that, though. Other side of that question would be, what cars would you like to see that aren't available now? For me, it would be a brand new Pontiac Fiero GT. Yeah, we know that, Onyx. We know that, Onyx. Oh, wow. What would you like to see as a brand new kit that's never been done? James?
Me personally, with all of my race car background, I would love to, at this point, get the Huracan version of the GT3 car or any of the Ferrari GT3 cars. We can build the living crap out of AMGs, and there's M6s and M8s, but for whatever reason, and I know what the reason is, it's licensing and it's expensive, but we've never had any of the Lamborghini kits. Aoshima put out that one GT1 car, but it was, already done with, by the time they released it, it was already a historical car before it ever came out. But like something like that, I don't necessarily know. I mean, I'd love to have a new Nissan GTR, but we're going to get one of those in the Snap Tight kit line that Aoshima's going to do this year. So that's coming. You sit here and you stare at 1,300 model kits, and you're like, I don't really need anything. I buy things because I want them.
Yeah. For me, it would be for Revell to update their tooling for that 2009 Challenger RT up to a new Hellcat, or the new. Yeah, I would love to have a new Hellcat kit. That would be, I would buy up quite a few of them. I'm a fan. Great checks. Onyx owned a Nissan Pulsar just once. Waiting for the late 70s Z28. Who's moving out of China? What year? 70s, late 70s. Are we talking?
I think it's that 81 Pro Stock kit. Okay. That one's been floating in the background for quite a while now, and it's not a situation where they're moving the tooling out of China. It was something when they ran test shots of it, there was something that they didn't like about it, and they're investigating that. So it'll hopefully come out. I don't care. He does, but it's not something that's gonna move my needle at all. But yeah, it's theoretically still out there.
I graduated high school. I'm going to date myself here. I graduated high school in 1987, and so yeah, I know. But for my peer group, late 70s cars were what we owned. That was the $1,000. $1,000 was a lot of money back then, but that was a $1,000 car for you, was to get a 77 through 80 Camaro or a Mustang. Mustang was horrible for those years, but Camaros were still very cool in my town. With our mullets and all that we but yeah, I could deal with the late 70s Z28. Nissan, never again, Kevin says. Mine was a lemon Sentra. Oh yeah, the late 80s Sentras were like thin as aluminum foil, if I remember right. I didn't know they had a model of my Pulsar. I hated that car. I have to get that kit. It was a front engine, front wheel drive car. Once is enough. Dean, just tuning in from work. I learned they're putting out some cars from Stranger Things. Looking forward to the Sheriff's K5 Blazer.
K5 Blazer, yeah.
And the 77 Camaro and the pizza delivery Volkswagen. Yeah, you were talking about that K5 Blazer new tool.
Right. The Camaro and the T3 are reissues. They are putting new parts into them, supposedly to make them look like the actual cars from the TV show. I think the T3 is just getting the pizza wagon thing on the roof. The Camaro, I think, needs wheels and a hood. But yeah, that K5 Blazer is the one that interests me, only from the aspect of, Revell never tools something to be one kit. So right. Do we get a new tool square box pickup of the the C10 series of, because it wasn't a Silverado back then, it would have just been a Cheyenne. But having a pickup truck of that generation would be great. And you're talking about a new body and everything else to transfer over. I think it would probably make it a short wheelbase, but
yeah,
I'm interested to see what
would be nice.
I'd be very interested to see what that K5 Blazer is, because it's going to be made to the TV show, and throw some wheels and tires into it. Now it's every hillbilly you've ever known's 4-wheel drive weekend toy. So there's a lot of options. Those K5 Blazers are still popular. You still pick those. I mean, you might have to replace every body panel on it for rust at this point, but right, a lot. someone in 3D printing land, because I don't think this is a viable thing to do kit wise, make the stuff to make the MUCV, military version of that car. You need if you really wanted to detail it out, you need a diesel engine, but
Right.
making that big square grill guard with the night light in it and those military axle style wheels and stuff like that. It'd be in a
Right.
really really base interior. It would be a cool option, and I think that's something that the 3D printing world probably can handle lickety split rather than sitting around waiting 5 years for Revell to decide they want to tool up a couple of new parts. But I'm very interested to see if that platform expands into a pickup truck, or if it doesn't, what other versions of that K5 Blazer we get. We're going to get a California Wheels one that's a lowrider or some goofy thing like that or whatever, but they're not making a brand new tool kit to release one TV attached, thing, and that'll be it.
Right. Dean says, my granddaughter is a big fan. Yes, that was a kid I was talking about. Thanks. All I need to find now is a Chevy Chevette. Oh my. What exactly?
That tooling exists somewhere, because that kit was made and then they changed it, and I think 78 is the last annual version of that. So like there's somewhere in the round 2 warehouse, unless it got destroyed somewhere just out of mercy, there is a Chevette tooling laying around somewhere.
Probably a Ford Escort 4-door too.
Yeah, I guess. It was very weird. Those Escorts were German Escorts. They weren't American Escorts. They made the Euro versions of those.
I think I have seen the EXP Escort.
Yeah, that was an Mpc kit.
Yeah. Onyx, you like the good ones. So when you say I have a vet, you don't tell her it's a Chevette, right? Shadow Can-Am cars, please. Those were cool. I'm not into the Can-Am so much. James?
Can-Am, like Indy, like any kind of race car. The problem with the race cars is they changed every year. And so it becomes very hard to make a tooling that you could then expand a bunch of different ways. And a guy at my club, one of the other car guys in an IPMS club, holy crap, how that happened, is building a McLaren. I can't think of what it is. It's a 70s Can-Am car, and he's using that Accurate Miniatures kit as his base.
Ooh.
And he has they 3D printed a body. He's 3D printed an engine. He's 3D printed an interior. It was all off of like video game files, so it's a real process to make that into a model kit. I mean, it's a body, but it's It turned out the body wasn't accurate. The person designing it didn't know what they were talking about, so he's been chopping that thing apart. He's got the body pretty much all the way done now. But that's a great example of the fact that car is like 73, I want to say it is. It was a championship car that year for that division of racing. But there's 4 or 5 of those, and they're all just a little bit different, and they're all different on the body in a way that you'd have to put in at least new front end side pieces to a tool, or tool a whole new body. Because a lot of the guts were recycled, but the body changed over time. And so you're like, okay, so we're going to do a Can-Am car, we're going to do a Trans Am car, we're going to do whatever 70s, era American motorsport you want to pick there. Great, I got this year's car, but I can't make next year's car out of it unless I spend another $75,000 making a whole new body for it. Or that's a very expensive investment very quickly. And that's
absolutely.
A lot. Doing historical cars is a little easier in the sense that, hey, at least you know what they look like, and it's not a change that happens, in line, like Salvino's right now having to go back and effectively destroy the 2022-2023 Mustang body to modify the tooling into the 24 Mustang. That's something they're doing in real time as the cars change. 70s cars, at least you know what. But then where are perfectly raced replicas that haven't been modified to run in classic series existing so that you can get the car exactly how it was then? Because a lot of those cars exist, but they've been upgraded with safety and whatnot over the years so that they can run in the current historical series. And that car is accurate to how this Trans Am car runs now, but it's not how it was 30 years ago. So the American car manufacturers never made a Nissan Heritage Museum, like the thing that has all of the old race cars in there, and they're all how they were originally. You can't get into it unless you're invited in and all that stuff. those cars exist. That's how Hasegawa like goes back and like, hey, we want to make a Group C car from the 1980s. Well, yeah, sure, come on in and 3D scan the original car. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't exist in American motorsports because the things weren't connected to teams like that. Can-Am, oh yeah, this is a Chevy engine and this, that, and the other thing, but it was Joe Bob's Racing that made the body, and after it was done with it, he scrapped it or sold it, and who knows where it is now.
So Troy says 81 Z28, I believe. Steve Goldman said test shot were okay, but he's moving the mold and may not release this year. Oh, okay. 81's still a good Z28 year. What was it? 83 they changed to the newer style.
82 or 83, yeah.
Okay. One says, sorry, what exactly kit should I look for? And does anyone own any of the Revell Magic Glow Racer kits? I do not.
Neither do I. I know what he's talking about. It's been 25 years since those were released last. So they're
wow. Kevin says old farts class of 79. Ooh. I will not say I found an AC 100 AMT Camaro. Huh. Aries Styrene, welcome. With Tamiya having a Ford license, would it be nice to see a new GT3?
Yeah, I'd love to see a new Mustang GT3.
Yeah, for sure.
They're saying they have such a good working relationship with Multimatic up there. They're the ones that built the Ford GT race car and the street car. So and the GT4 Mustang. So like, hey guys, we'd like to measure up your new Mustang.
Autocorrect. Dang keyboard. American Ford Escort had absolutely nothing in common with the European version. We had the one filled with American 80s crappiness. Yeah, that's for sure.
I'm aware. That's why I just said it was always funny they did the European one. So it wasn't a car you could buy here.
Right. Oh, yeah. The Escort EXP has a kit does by Mercury LN7. Oh, wow. GM does have their Heritage Center that was first and last of everything they built and a lot of the race cars. Where is that, Onyx? Oof. 35 years of building the Magic Glow release. Huh.
That is, I just saw an article about that the other day because they're going to. Well, it's not maybe that it's a technology center I'm thinking of. So they're hand building one of the new Cadillac EVs at the GM Technology Center, which has never had a production car done in it. Apparently, it was all prototypes and test cars. Assuming you want to buy a $90,000 electric Cadillac, I guess.
Kevin says deer warning things. So James, was there any other new releases that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's it because we'll talk about the March kits on the next one because at this point, I don't box art for any of them or anything. The one thing I guess I could show you because we did talk about it the last time around and people care or not. It's a whole different topic of conversation, I suppose. But I know I showed this to you the other day because we were just talking about it. Actually, I got two things. Let's see. We'll talk about this in a second. And then we had talked about that new Sylvia, the S13 Sylvia, that was a bunch of.
Right. The 180.
The one that was a bunch of like 3D printed nonsense the last time. So box art has been done for that, obviously, because the kit's coming out this month. And if you're going to put a kit out, you got to put it in a box at some point. So this is the box art for that Sylvia.
Okay.
Which, I mean, if you're into Sylvias, I guess probably hits you a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I have the 91 Sylvia already, so getting a different, I believe I've actually got this set of wheels in mind too. But there's still no sprue shots for it because those won't come until the kit's released, but at least get an idea of what this looks like now in, a production version type of thing. I don't know if these parts exist already or if there's really new things being done here. I'm pretty sure these wheels already exist in the back catalog because you could buy them in those boxes of wheels and tires that they sell. But again, for anybody who is like, hey, what about that?
with that body kit, we could probably do some drift decals with that.
Probably could. I'm pretty sure there's a guy out there who would, in fact, make pretty much any drift decal you might want, regardless of whether or not it actually
Right.
goes to anything.
Right.
Let me see here. I know you're probably getting like things in the background, but I didn't bother to get to transfer stuff over. So the other thing, let me stop sharing that. The other thing is the new. We got a bunch of stuff out. There's a couple of videos that were online if you were on YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook for this. This is the first of the new 1/24 scale snap tight kits that Aoshima is doing. It's going to be 71 GTR, and that is something that they've already have in like the regular glue line. Right. But everybody who knows your Aoshima knows that there's the snap kits, the 1/32 scale cards that they've done 40 some out of now. They must sell ridiculously well in Japan. They're
right.
John Betker, the guy that runs Auto Models, who's my local hobby shop, has them on his shelf for like $13-15 a piece. So even here, with the markup of being shipped overseas, they're still pretty cheap in terms of cards. So I'm interested to see what this ends up costing. But this is going to be come in 3 different colors. So it's going to come molded in silver, molded in white, or molded in red. So you get to choose which one you want. I'll buy the white one because if I want to paint it, I'll paint it myself. And you get sort of an idea of how these are going to go together, where you're going to have a chassis that has everything engraved into it except the muffler, apparently. And then you have an interior that's platform style, and you have multi-piece axles with actual disc brakes up front. So that's nice. And you see that everything is molded into the bottom except the muffler, because YOLO mufflers. And, and then the body's going to break down, in this piece. So the rear, this is nice, I think, is the rear wheel being separate. That'll probably be molded in black. But even for building it as a, quote unquote real modeler thing, hey, right, it's separate. I don't have to mask it off to paint it. The hood's separate. I'm not sure what that gets me.
That thing got an engine in there.
I say I don't know what that gets me all the way, but yeah. So it's a 71. It's a little bit different than the Tamiya kit in terms of year, and I think the grill's slightly different. But apparently, it's going to have a gimmick where you can have it at regular ride height or a lower ride height, with this carrying over from those Liberty Walk Lamborghini kits. And then the wheels roll because you want to play with it on your floor. The wheels turn so that you can steer it on the floor. But it's that'll be cool. I think it's a nice step up from their snap tight kits. Is it going to be everything you ever wanted in a snap tight kit? Like some of the Revell snap tight kits, the tractors and stuff like that would have been 100-piece snap tight kit models. No, it's a very basic model, but
right.
Everyone is always looking for, so they claim, a way to get the kids into the hobby. Well, if your kids play video games, they probably play Gran Turismo or Forza. And I guarantee you somewhere in there is that first-gen GTR as a playable car. So,
right.
Is your kid suddenly going to build model kits and spend all their free time with you? No, you're an adult. They don't like you. But it's certainly, compared to other options, like, some of the Revell Wheels of Fire snap tight kits, it's a 57 Chevy. Great, but does your 13-year-old kid have an attachment to a 57 Chevy? They probably have an attachment to a first-gen GTR. They're going to do the new Nismo GTR in that line, and there's some 1/3 thing. I can't think of what it was off the top of my head, but they're, iconic. I think they're all Nissans. They must have a deal with Nissan on it, but they're iconic cars that your kids who play video games will recognize. They're not the cars that you want to build. Totally understand that. But for younger folks, it's stuff they'll recognize from their video games.
And you have to give them credit. Oshima, for those kits, the finish on those bodies is mirror finish. It's super polished plastic. So, just taking it out of the box and throw a coat of wax on it, and it's going to rival, a nice paint job, to be honest.
Oh, certainly. They are. The Fujimi Next kits are like that too. That Hustler and stuff like that. They're super, super polished plastic. It's a very interesting thing. I'll be interested to see if it goes 40 kits deep like the 1/32 snap kits do.
I'd like to see that happen, to be honest with you.
I think anything you can do to make a modern entry level kit, especially when one that you're sort of graduating up within a company's line like that, because you built 132nd Snapshot kits, and those are super basic. They're like build and play kits from Revell when they did those, where they're 8 pieces, the chassis is blank on the bottom and stuff like that. Going into those Liberty Walk kits, that's a big step. They're 100 pieces. It's a lot of it's gluing and stuff like that. This is a nice in between, and we'll see how successful that ends up being.
Yeah.
Back to the comments.
Back to the comments. That's in Michigan. You have to be invited in. Oh, that you're talking about that museum, right? Okay. With the Multimatic and Penske, let's get the Porsche Le Mans. Okay. Kevin says everything in plastic bubbles. I'm sure. Keep the dust off of it. Remember being in a restaurant with a club, people thought they were talking about real cars, and they said, "Do we look rich?" Is there a stock body, no wheel flare version of that kit? Even the stock GTR had a wheel flare.
Yeah,
just the rear.
That was on the... You'd have to find like a GTX, and I'm not sure one exists of a first gen. There's ones of a second gen, but yeah, all first gen GTRs had that rear wheel flare on them.
Okay. Onyx says we need a newer generation of enthusiast cars represented in the hobby to get younger kids in the hobby. Absolutely. Bring out the modern cars, and maybe they'll think about it. You can, pry them away from their tablets and their video games. Good evenings from Portugal. Welcome.
Say good morning. We're gonna be at least 6-hour difference there. I will say that the one thing I've never understood, and I get it, the reason why in a long story way, is the fact that video game that Revell did, or Monogram, I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was Monogram, did of the exotic car line, like that totally flopped. They lost millions of dollars developing that video game, and so anything is herefore and always evil. But a great way to connect with kids is, the Stranger Things, your kids will understand. My oldest daughter, the one that's just graduated college back before Christmas, very into Supernatural. So when that Impala came out, was like, oh, cool, there's a car on the show I watched. But like PlayStation's, Gran Turismo and Forza on Xbox, those games have been around for 15 plus years at this point. And that's making... I don't know that you could ever have licensed the game in an affordable way, but making things that were based on that and making them in the correct scale, Revell's tuner line being 125th instead of 124, so no aftermarket parts that exist fit it. I think that's the thing, and I think that the next kits from Fujimi and these kits and Liberty Walk to a certain extent, but again, glue kit also plugs into that part where what do young kids build? Bandai kits. And what are Bandai kits? High gloss, molded in color, snap tight kits that are easy to build. Well, if these things fit into that, that's a way to peel off, a little bit. Because if you're into Gundam, that's a whole universe that you're aware of, and you're watching cartoons and you're reading mangas and stuff like that. But the people who build Gundam eventually, usually, detour off. They build a tank, they build an airplane, they build, this drives me up a wall when some of the IPMS old heads go, we'll build real models now, like the Gundam is somehow not a real model. 500 pieces and cost $250. That costs more than the last 7 model kits you bought at a swap meet kind of thing. But if you can make that build experience for kids, I think or for younger builders and returning builders, even if you come back into the hobby and you're like, ooh, where do I start? This is wildly different than it was 30 years ago. Having something that you can, and the aoshima pre-paints were that way too, where the whole kit's painted and you're dealing with cutting off things and those marks, but otherwise it's you build it in a weekend and you're done with it. I think that's a thing that if it works, could you certainly draw in people having that Gundam style build. I don't know that Aoshima was ever going to be able to shoot their trees in 3 different colors of plastic at one time the way Bandai does, but hopefully. You gotta scrape a couple of people off the bottom every now and then.
Right. Yeah, I built one Gundam kit, and it's not as easy as you think. They're
No,
they're not easy. And this was a small one that I did, and it took me a couple evenings.
well, I mean,
And I just built it right out of the box. I didn't.
with Betker's physical store that actually has here in town, it was auto models. So basically all I sold was car models. It's my background, your background in a store. And he sold like some Meng and Tamiya armor, some Meng and Tamiya planes, a little bit of IPMS stuff here and there, but his primary thing was all cars all the time. And I don't know who talked him into it. He asked me at one point, "Hey, do you think if I got some Bandai kits in here, if they would sell?" I'm like, "They sell like crazy. Bandai makes 500,000 model kits a year or something ridiculous like that. They make every model kit company look like some small fry, overnight operation."
Right.
And he got a couple in and sold a couple, got a couple in, sold a couple. We have a Gundam club here in Pittsburgh. And if you go in there on a Saturday or a Sunday now, half of the customers are 20, 30-year-old kids carrying out these suitcase-sized ultimate grade $250, $300 Gundam kits that are literally 1,500 plus piece Gundam kits. Yeah, okay, Gundams, they're this tall and cost 15, 20 bucks and are 30 pieces. Yeah, okay, it's a Snapback kit. There are Gundam kits that exist out there that are that's going to be a month-long project. It's the Titanic Lego kind of thing, And at least with our IPMS club, if you bring a Gundam to the contest, you have to have painted it. You can't just bring I mean, I know the IPMS Nationals this year have created a Gundam specific category. So that's good progress there, and they have an unpainted and painted class, so they're not necessarily trying to exclude people who are just building them and being on their way. But that's model building, folks. I don't care what you say.
Right. I totally agree with you.
And now 75% of his business is Gundam. It's keeping the store open for putzes like us who are building cars. So
one says, what about theme series kits like the Road Chill series or the Hot Rod Magazine series or the Car Club series? Anyone have any of those? I'm not familiar with those.
The Hot Rod Magazine series was a 1980s Revell thing. They did all of those kits that were branded as Hot Rod. And there were only a few things in that were ever new. Like the Lincoln Hot Rod kit or the Lincoln Pro Street kit is from that. The Batera, the Pontiac 6000 Pro Street is from that. The Thunderbolt, the 64, what is that? Is it a Falcon Thunderbolt or a Fairlane Thunderbolt? Whatever that.
Yeah, Fairlane.
Thunder. That kit was done in that series originally. That was where that kit originates from. But a lot of that stuff was, reissues of the Ed Roth Tweety Pie and all those sort of, hot rods of the past. And I think that line, if kid, when that line was going on, very quickly turned me against Revell, because it was like, okay, so this Lincoln Hot Rod's cool. It's a new car. And then you had like the 55 Chevy from the 1960s and the 57 Chevy from the 1960s, the ones that everything opened on. And as a 12-year-old kid trying to build that 57 Chevy, I will tell you right now, God's honest truth as my witness, I did not build Revell kits at that point for probably 4 years afterwards, because I bought several of those everything opens kits in a row. And as a kid, I didn't have the skills to build those things out of the box. Nothing fit. Nothing, there wasn't, 1980s, very low period in the hobby in general in terms of investment and stuff like that. The kits were 20 years, 25 years old and showed every bit of the mold wear. Nothing was lined up. Nothing fit. The windows didn't fit. The doors obviously didn't fit. You opened them and closed them once and the hinge busted off, and now you have a door sitting there and you're looking at it, and whoosh, across the room it goes. And then I got the monogram and AMT from here on out. That's why a lot of people are like, AMT kits from the 1990s. I hated those things. Like, that was the only thing I built. I love AMT kits from the 1990s.
Mueller area. Yeah, for sure. Erie says, hey, they do World of Tanks kits, so why not?
Yeah, it's true. There's a huge World of Tanks, and that's a video game. Huge.
Onyx says he's built a Gundam and they're amazing. Their engineering. Absolutely. just as good as any other genre of kit. I have large scale Gundams that take months to finish. Yeah, I believe it. Price, largest factor preventing new builders more snap when they needed to assemble. Yeah, Michael's Crafts in Canada has a new selection, and they constantly offer 30% off. Okay.
I would say to that though, kids' video games, Gran Turismo is going to run $60. You're
right.
Anybody who was trying to find a PlayStation 5 when they came out and they were in short supply, it's a $400 video game console normally, and parents were paying thousands of dollars to make sure their precious little angels had one for Christmas. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Paper route money, not necessarily going to buy those things, but comparatively speaking, they're not as expensive as other things that kids are doing.
What kit do you treasure so much that you can't get yourself to build? I've got an old TD horn toad kit. I talked about kits earlier in the show that I've had for a long time that I just can't build yet because I'm not good enough.
I don't think I own anything of, because I know what the kit he's talking about, and that's an expensive thing to find, especially new in a box. But I don't think I own anything necessarily that I would be so adverse to building. Like I have a couple of Johan kits. I have a DeSoto Adventurer and the Chrysler 300. I have a couple old AMT kits from the 70s that are, I don't know that anything if those qualify as like, oh well, I could not bring myself to build something. I don't treasure anything at this point, especially for really coming up when we came up. I know you didn't build as a youth as much as I did,
right.
But like from 1980s on, we stopped trashing model kits and turning them into other things. Things became, the Revell Camaro is a great example. The 69 Camaro, that thing's like what 6 different versions of that kit in at this point.
Right.
With the new one that came out with the ice cube tray hood a couple of years ago, like that kit, I'm never going to worry about selling one of those or building one of those because I can always get another one. There's, the model show for sure, but Revell will reissue it at some point.
Right. You can get brand new.
So there are some things I think like the Aston Martin DBS Tamiya kit. You may never see that come out again because the licensing for Aston Martin is so expensive.
That's a drag too, because that's a beautiful kit.
But so many other things, give it 10 years, you'll see it again.
Okay. Kevin says no more paper routes. Too dangerous. Steve Courtney, welcome.
Hey, Steve, what's going on? So I'm going to share the thing I just sent you because it's popped up online at a bunch of different places, and I think it's an interesting. It's a quick rant on social media. This image popped up online a bunch of different places. Now, aside from this being a really crappy AI generated thing, because the joke I've seen with a couple of my friends is, what did this guy do? Keep saying add wheels. And because there's so many tires in this picture, if you look at it, there's tires in this rack behind him. There's tires in this. There's tires in this bin. There's tires here. There's tire. This is the top of this paint jar is a tire. There's a random chassis laying around over here. I don't know what's going on with this nipper. It's got like 4 different handles attached to it. But yeah, God bless AI, right? Give me a manga image of a guy building a Cobra Maverick Mustang. Okay, cool. So. The point I wanted is this sentiment behind this building plastic model is a form of art, and like any art is subjective. What matters is not what others think of your model, but you think of it and how much you enjoyed making it. And this floating end quote here just drives me up a crazy grammar wall because why? So creation of the image aside, social media has really been so beneficial to modelers because it allows people to connect with each other in ways that never existed in the past. You and I would not be friends without social media because we started talking when you still lived in Arizona and before we ever met in person. Now, I don't know, 2-3 times a year we probably get to hang out if you don't go jet setting off to Japan for the Cleveland November IPMS show. But it also has that really nasty double-edged sword where social media is a sewer of hot take opinions about everything, and people are going to say mean things about everything all the time.
Yes.
I want to ask people when they think about that subject, not so much the art part, but of whether or not you're happy with it, is the question of when you're done with your model, are you happy with it? Because that really comes down to it. And it's not a question of like, I could have done this better, or I see this flaw, because we're all our own worst critics. People will say, well, I really like this model kit, and I'll tell you the 900 things I know that are wrong with this build that I did, because I know every step of the way what things I could have done better or what didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And so
right.
I understand within the concept of like, you don't need to critique me because I know what's wrong. But it really does come down to, are you happy with it? And if you are, great. If you're not, and there's things that you want to work on, I think that point comes up. Personal responsibility, probably too hard of a word for a hobby, but it becomes your responsibility to either figure it yourself or source through your peers what you need to learn to do these things better. It is a personal mantra of mine, and I don't want to put it on anyone else, that every kit that comes off my bench every 15 years is better than the last one. And I think that constant self-improvement is a very important thing within the hobby. I've said 1,000 times, no one takes up golf to be bad at it, but people seem to take up modeling to be bad at it. They're like, you're like, hey, you try to do it in the most gentle way possible, and giving criticism is a skill set of its own, because there's ways to be like, this is this, and it just comes across really bad no matter how you phrase it. But it's like, do you want to get better or don't you? And if you don't, cool. If you want to just be what you are, I have no pressure whatsoever into making you better. But if you want to be better, you kind of have to accept a little bit of feedback into what you're doing. There comes a point in time where your friends, these are the people that you associate with, are your friends. They're not being mean. They're trying to help. Right. And social media connected you to those people, but at the same time, social media connected you to the 29 million member Model Cars Facebook group, which is just a plethora of everybody. It has near no moderation to it, and people are going to say mean things to you. And I see people like, well, they're going to say this stuff to me. My stuff sucks. I won't go to shows, because I know you want to talk about the social aspect of model shows before we get out of here. But like, man, it's a razor fine edge, in that art is subjective thing. Yes, it is. But the question then becomes, okay, there are some people who build models, they're artists. It's straight out art. It could go into a museum. That is not 95% of people building model kits. Sorry. I mean, nothing of mine is art. It's a miniature replica of something. But are you hiding behind that subjectivity thing? Like, art's subjective. You don't get it. Well, do I not get it, or is that model need some work? Like it's that sort of thing that you see with a lot of Facebook groups, like no criticism allowed. Okay, well, being an asshole should not be allowed. 100%. You should never be mean to somebody else in any situation. You would not, if you saw them in public, you wouldn't. Would you treat them the way you do online? Probably not, because you get your ass beat in the parking lot. But that whole no negativity thing has also fostered this sort of people are their, greatest person on the face of the planet in their minds thing. Yeah, I don't want to make fun. I don't want to make fun of your model. It's a pot stirring thing we're doing here. You don't want to make fun of your model. I don't want to critique you personally, but that looks like a pile of dog crap. We all know it looks like a pile of dog crap. And you pretending that it's not a pile of dog crap because, well, people just give me attaboys. Yeah. It's a very fine razor line to walk on between hurting someone's feelings, even unintentionally, rather than just being a douche about it. But like, man, you do at some point need feedback, and you can't hide behind that subjective art or whatever. Like, yeah, art's subjective. You should never walk up to somebody and tell them you like something, but you don't like the color, because color is a subjective thing. Yeah, I wouldn't have painted that color, but that has nothing to do with what that model actually looks like. It's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't
Right.
like the one you see online all the time. Well, I don't like those wheels. Great. Why did you vomit that into the world? Like, who cares what wheels you like? That's irrelevant to whether or not that model's good or not.
It's my model.
Yeah,
I like the
exactly.
wheels. Right.
And that's another thing you see all the time. Is like, oh, I built for myself. Okay, well then never put anything online, because if you put things online, even though I know what that means, I understand what the concept behind that I built for myself. Yes, everyone does. Unless you're being paid by somebody else to build something, you are building for yourself by default. No one
Right.
is paying you. You're not a professional model builder. You're building for yourself. But if you're putting it out there,
Right.
you
You're
have
looking
to
for likes
there's
and
you're
yeah.
looking for, even if it is you're in a group where it's on nothing but attaboys, and hey, I'm totally cool if all you want is positivity. I don't think that's a necessarily realistic way to go about life, but and it doesn't necessarily foster growth in a constant improvement way, because if everyone's telling you what you're doing is great, well, what do you have to improve on? It's great. It's fantastic. That looks awesome. Well, that's awesome. What do I need? I just on to the next one. Here we go. That's awesome.
You want to buy
Yeah,
it?
exactly. $500. It's all yours. I think I think what a lot of people get scared of or reluctant with when you talk about, well, I think there should be constant improvement, and I'll leave it with this. Will be the end of my speech here. Is the fact that when I say constant improvement, man, it could be the smallest, most insignificant as a whole picture thing, but this was the time that kit had that finish on the exhaust that you've been trying to get with metallics for the last 12 builds. It has that paint job. Finally, that paint job laid out the way you wanted it to the first time, or you didn't have to spend hours in sanding on the other end of it, buffing crap out of it, or your first engine you wired and it didn't look like a spider monkey was attacking the top of your engine because the wires were in scale and you went and you got a pre-wired distributor if you had to, or whatever the case may be. I
Right.
think that constant improvement is not like, well, this was a snap tie kit and then this one is photo etch and the wheels come off to show the brakes and all the door panels open. Like, no,
Right.
that's not what that means, man. This little thing was better than last time. This little thing is better than last time, because we don't bowl to suck. We don't golf to suck. Nobody takes up a hobby to be bad at it. But there's this little corner of the internet that I like to sort of drag people out of a little bit of, like, you can
Right.
get better at this. YouTube may not be the best way to go about that, because it's a random association of people that you don't know. Like, there's people in this group in the comment sections that I know personally, Steve being one of them. We see him at all the shows. There's other people on here whose names I recognize, but I'm not necessarily sure that they're the people I would go to for advice. But I think that is, and it's one of those things that men in particular are not good at, where you don't make friends with men we don't know. You got to form some sort of social circle with people whose opinions you value. I don't necessarily know that you need to share the same politics or same values. You're not trying to be best friends or barbecuing on the weekends, but you have to, that are good modelers. You, Broll, and some other people that I know. I'm friends with people that I think are better builders than I am, because I find surrounding myself with people that are better than me drags me up, to not to their level necessarily, but with them. If somebody's better at something than me, I can get advice from them. If someone is worse than me, I can give advice to them. But, like, you got to have some sort of feedback loop, I think, personally,
Yeah.
in this
And I
hobby,
think
to be
being in
able
a
to
club
improve
is
in
that's
no
what
time.
it's for. James, next episode, let's talk about clubs, shows, and what it does for us.
Okay.
Let's curb that for next one.
Yeah, all right. We are bouncing
We're
off
at
10
2 hour
here.
mark now, so let's read through the comments and put a tack on this one. Kevin says, just think if we had YouTube back when we started modeling. That's for sure. That's for sure. I wish I had a James Tester scale model experiment when I got started. I'm happy with every build on my bench. No, I make it a point to learn something new from each build. Sometimes it's learning that was not the right way to do it. Yeah. I still have yet to build a model car that doesn't have a scratch on a windshield. I agree that there's a tactful way to criticize. I don't give any feedback unless asked for. And even then it would format it as I would suggest doing this or that. And again, it only involves techniques. Yes, absolutely, Dean.
You don't show the bad ones.
We don't show the bad ones, that's for sure. Never like judging. James, we can talk about that since you've done judging before. I've never done judging.
That's been promoted, actually.
You just yeah, looks good. Yeah, thumbs up. Clubs have caused me to take longer to build more quality models. Yeah, yeah. We're going to talk about that next episode. What clubs do for the hobby. But I think we're at 2 hours now. We've overextended our stay, I think.
I will say to Dean's last thing there, only would suggest this or suggest that if you're gonna give feedback to someone's model, don't tell them what they could do to fix that model because it's too late. It's already done.
Yeah.
Couch it in the next time you do something, or you want to be fostering the future here because it's done. It's too late. You shouldn't have done that, but now
Right.
you've just taken a giant dump on this thing somebody spent 40 plus hours building, and they probably already know it's wrong too, but
Yeah.
leave the current stuff alone. It's
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll do another rehearsal 2 weeks. What do you think? 2 weeks, James?
Yep, I think 2 weeks. By then our equipment should hopefully be on its way at least, and then get you your half of it, and we'll look at getting the audio one started sometime in March. I don't know. Brainstorming on the way out here. I'll talk to you offline about it. But
Okay.
yeah, guys, appreciate your tuning in and joining us tonight. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the other side.
See you.